Hey everybody, today we are going to be turning this piece of raw stock into, well, one, a birthday gift, and two, a whiskey stone or a whiskey cube. Basically the idea is instead of adding ice to your beverage of choice, you put this in the freezer and then stick this in your drink and it will cool it down without diluting it. Now the actual product here and the machining itself is pretty simple. We are just taking a cube and cutting down all the corners, giving it a whole bunch of fillets, and I'll be doing kind of a decorative pattern on the top. But the back end in cam is, I think, unique, at least for this product. I'm sure somebody else has done something similar. But on this type of product, I think we're doing something completely novel. Involved custom coding, a plugin in Fusion, and some pretty funky parametric work. So I'll get to that later, but for now, let's go ahead and machine one of these. Now this piece right here is 304 stainless, and this will be what the actual product is made out of. I'll be doing some test pieces out of this aluminum, and these are just 1-inch cubes. I cut these on my Portaband, and the cuts are passable, but not great, so that may give us problems later. But the way this is programmed, it will account for a lot of discrepancies in the stock. I already have a piece of stock in the machine. First step is to rough probe in, and you'll see what I mean. But we need to get the work coordinate system roughly probed in with this first setup piece. So then this is pretty simple to get it rough probed in. PathPilot has built-in routines for this. First step, I'm going to probe my Z like so. Okay. And now I'm going to probe for the center of this workpiece. When I start the program with the probe in the machine, and there's actually a probing routine in the program. So now that I have the work coordinate system roughly set up, I will just put the cube roughly in the same place as I flip it the 6 different times to get the 6 different sides. I'm going to mark the corner of the cube with a piece of tape so that I don't have to guess exactly where it needs to be every time. Though I have a feeling coolant is going to spray that off. This is a 1/4-inch ball mill from Lakeshore Carbide 4-flute. I think unfortunately that footage wasn't very good, and I apologize if it's blurry. That's from the lights and the cheap webcam that I have in my machine. My expensive webcam doesn't do that, but I don't want to put my expensive one in the machine. I'll try adding some extra light from a DC source and see if that fixes it. But I'm really happy with the results right now. That is better than I ever could have hoped. Silly coolant. I like that. I already have 6 different programs on here, 1 for each side, and that spiral pattern is randomized on all 6 sides. And it will automatically probe in the part, so I don't have to worry about compensating for how high it is above the parallels, because it'll automatically set that based off the top, which isn't ideal, but it doesn't matter if this cube is directly on size or exactly on size. That also means I don't have to necessarily worry about running the programs in order, as they can be, because they will automatically adjust for whatever size the cube happens to be at that point. I think I'm also going to go to 1 parallel, because I don't want the 2 parallels to be fighting the vice jaws on this material, because it's so very much not square. Let's put that one right in the middle there. There we go. And hopefully that's enough material bitage. I can always go down to size of parallel if I need to. Okay, it actually just aired out on me because I took the probe out when it was moving, and when I did that, I triggered the probe, which caused it to throw like a safety probe triggered while moving air. It did already set the new work coordinate system, so I'm just going to skip the probing on this one. and just send it. Still looks good. Now I just need to do this like 4 more times to get 1. If I do this in production, I'm definitely making a fixture where I can do like 8 or 12 sides at a time to get me a lot more unattended run time, and I'll just flip them. Okay, now this might actually be a place where we hit some issues. I thought it would all be easy from here, but we have some variables changing, and I'm not sure how the probing's going to handle it. If you look at it, the stock really isn't the same shape as the starting stock was. Now it has kind of 2 skinny sides and 2 long sides. I'm also a little bit worried about how all the fillets are going to line up. It hit on the taper there. I think it should be fine, but it might cause some weirdness and maybe something to fix. Have it probe lower. But the center point is the only thing that matters. Well, the probing went good enough. Something to fix for the next part, but I think it'll be fine. Now, my biggest worry is about how the fillets are going to mesh with the 2 randomized spiral pattern, because it might look kind of funky at the fillets, or maybe it'll look cool. I don't think it's terrible. I need to get it out of here to really find out. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. All right, we're running the last side now. All done. Okay, so this actually, I think, went better than I first thought it did. There's only issues with the blend lines in a couple places and not everywhere, which leads me to think that it may actually have been my probing coming in on those fillets too high and hitting potentially a pretty large ridge. I think if I just lower where that probe hits and try again, it should be better. I definitely like where this is going though. Honestly, this one right now I think would be good enough to give as a gift, just not sell as a product. I'm definitely on the right track, and I really like the aesthetic behind these. These even might be good in themselves as a fidget toy or a worry coin, just because they're cool and they have a lot of texture to them. But I'm going to go ahead and fix that probing in Fusion and run another one to see what it looks like. I'm going to do that off camera so that I can move faster and not be tripping over you. Okay, so I now have 2 of these. The second one is definitely better than the first one was. The only change I made was in how it probed, which I think was responsible for the majority of the change. Though, now that I think about it, I do think some of it may actually be because of the stock height of the material, or the stock length. I think this one was a little bit long, which is why there's squares on 2 ends. And that was just determined by my saw cut edge. I think this process is more sensitive to the initial length of the stock than I thought it would be, and so what I need to do is add an op 0 where I cut my cubes into cubes that are pretty close to being dead on square. Whereas I can't get that accurate with my saw cut, especially when I'm just using a little porta band to make the cuts. Anyway, same style of coat as we had before with a different randomization seed. Material in here is stainless, so it'll be my first time cutting. Well, my first time cutting stainless, period, actually, on this machine and definitely on one of these products. I'm a little bit worried that on that first pass we're going to get some chatter but if we make it past there, we'll be fine. I did switch around my camera setup so you guys can get a better view inside the machine, because I don't think that worked very well for the last time, but I'm learning. Oh, and I made the probing routine a lot more efficient too, if I actually hit the material. Whoopsies. I definitely need to work on that probing routine. It's doing some weird bobby things. Alright, if something goes wrong, it's gonna happen really quick here at the beginning. Okay, so first stainless one is done. Much like the first one, there are two sides with some blend line issues, again because that stock was oversized, but otherwise it looks really good. So I think if I add an op 0 in to make the stock truly cubular to begin with, I think that'll solve my issues. And for production, I definitely need a way of holding more than just one of these at a time. It works, but it is definitely painfully slow. I would not want to do a production run, especially when these will come in probably a set of 4. I would say the stainless looks incrementally nicer than the aluminum. The color is just a little bit darker. Aluminum has that kind of more white color, whereas stainless is a little bit darker. And the finish is just a tiny bit better on the stainless. But really, overall, this came out exactly as I was envisioning in my head. It was exactly what I was hoping